All right, we're live. Uh, so one thing that we can do before Tony jumps on is kind of briefly go over some of the bullet points from the conversation that you guys had with Hurdlekin after the fight. So Hurdlekin seems to be healthy after his experience of having what it looked like his soul or spirit energy or whatever ripped from his body. Um, he doesn't believe that creature was hostile or trying to hurt anybody, but that it was kind of confused, wondering where it was, and that what you guys heard is like a psychic destruction of your brain was actually it trying to sing. Um, and Hurdlekin made an analogy of the Inkies kind of being like its antibodies, kind of reacting to its surroundings. You guys mentioned to him that you saw the Delkir. He didn't believe you at first until you started describing what it looked like, which none of the primary source texts ever really mentioned, at least not ones that anybody like you guys would have access to. So that gave you guys a little bit more credibility in his eyes. Of course, Peitri questioned why Hurdlekin was even there, a part of the tower, and then that's when he revealed his dragon mark of Kundarak, which Eivar recognized as the dwarven dragon mark of related to security and banking. And then you guys mentioned Mordain Fleshweaver, which drew a pretty strong reaction from Hurdlekin, which then he made a potion and threw it on the floor to kind of shield everybody from outside observation. He explained that nobody's heard from Mordain in over a century, and tales say he was a powerful wizard who a lot of his research was around the Xoriat, the Delkir, and advancement in the magics related to transmutation. But a lot of his experiments were unethical, dangerous, and considered evil. Tony, I'm just going through with everybody about a conversation that happened last session, going through the bullet points, just to remind everybody. So nothing you need to worry about right now. What's that?
I just had a random error.
Those are always fun, right?
Yeah.
So Hurdlekin also mentioned that Mordain was actually tried for his unethical and dangerous experiments, and he was to be executed. And the Council of the Tower, the Council of the 12, had actually made several attempts to execute him, all of which failed. And then he eventually escaped, and he's said to be in the nation of Droaam, which is purportedly a nation full of monsters, led by the daughters of Sorakel. No, none of the five nations actually recognizes it as a sovereign nation, with the exception of Breland, which also happens to share a border with it. And then,
why?
What's that?
Do we know, have a sense as to why that is? Is that like common knowledge?
Yeah, it's pretty common knowledge. The thoughts are because there's a lot of people that kind of see Droaam as a frontier wasteland type thing, where there are a lot of monsters. There's reports that there are gargoyles and Medusa and ogres. Those kinds of creatures are said to roam across Droaam, as well as many others. But obviously, given that, even though Corvair is more of a metropolitan state where goblins are, kind of accepted as people, there are monsters that are just considered subhuman, like more beast than person. And so nobody really recognizes Droaam as worthwhile of consideration. But they are powerful in their own right, powerful enough that they were able to stake out this land and fight off any contests to its sovereignty. It's said that Breland has recognized this nation more because they want to keep peace on their shared border. But nobody else wants to officially recognize them because it would be like recognizing, a nation of dogs as a sovereign nation.
Sure.
In a lot of different people's eyes.
You bring up an interesting point. At least you made me think of an interesting point. The plural form of Medusa is Medusae.
Isn't it A? Medusae?
Medusae.
So Medusae.
There's Medusae running around the plains. I just
Yes.
I listened, but I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
I thought that was
So it's always good to learn something new.
I think you'll find it's Medusan.
Or maybe it's like moose. The plural is just Medusa.
Just moose.
Medusa.
Still stuck on the image of all of us walking through Droaam going, talking about how there's like gargoyles, Medusa, and ogres. Oh my.
So that basically covers the main points of the conversation so far. So we have Peitri, Marthow, and Eivar kind of surrounding Hurdlekin, asking questions as he's kind of coming around and getting a grasp of his own sort of injuries or exhaustion from his experience. There's also that poor fucking kid that Peitri throttled while he was unconscious over in the corner. Do you guys want to go around and kind of give a description of how your character is looking and feeling after all of this, that deadly encounter that you guys all just survived?
Yes. Marthow, he came near the brink of death, and had his inner voice not shown, he would have died. You can see a large bruise on his temple. If his shirt is tattered through claw marks, and through the claw marks you can see kind of discolored skin, dark skin with white mottled with white. And Marthow is looking very kind of green to the face. Not necessarily like physically green, but he's feeling like very nauseous, and he's just not all there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Ivar's, he's wiped some of it away, but you can still see sort of trails of blood coming from one ear and from both of his eyes, and a little bit of it in the corner of his mouth. His eyes are bloodshot, like he's almost like he's been up for days. And very briefly, you saw his perfect purple hair all like slumped over and wrong. But he immediately, as soon as the fight was over, reached into his bag and pulled out a floppy hat and put that on. Because it'll take him like half an hour to redo his hair now.
He needs to seek out that perfect coif.
Right. Getting that messy bedhead look is not something you can get just by sleeping in a bed.
So Peitri has been bleeding out for God knows how long now, out of his chest, out of his gut. and the last fight got him crit by the big black ichors. So they jumped into where his open wounds were, and now they've like leave traces of that black ichor with his blood, which is all mixed through. He also climbed up a pole on near no life, which then Marthow flew over and gave him a good old fixer-upper with the magic wand. But that didn't stop Peitri from trying to kill himself by jumping off the pole and almost dying to fall damage and God knows what else. But he's looking pale, he's looking deathly, and he's still bleeding black and red stuff from his guts.
That actually reminds me, everybody give me a wisdom roll.
Save or roll?
Roll.
Oh, natural 20.
6.
That is 20.
12 + 9.
Ivor, I'm going to send you a quick message. All right. So with that, suddenly there is a loud bang, or almost like an explosion, and you guys turn to see the door burst forth with several armored figures coming through. And that is the introduction of Tacitus. So, Tony, go ahead and describe to us your character and what that looks like when you guys come through the door.
I guess leading the charge would be a man with armor in the motif of the country. How do you pronounce that country's name?
Cyre.
Cyre. It almost looks like he might have had like a patch on it as well, but that was taken off. He himself is not quite 6 foot tall. He's got I like to make characters like myself, hair balding on top, but but his is actually flecked with the occasional gray hair. And then filing in behind him are 12 additional people. In my hand is kind of a sword, I guess. It's in the shape of a sword, but it's looks more like coalesced shadow.
A coalesced what?
Shadow.
Okay.
Like you're looking into a hole, but it's the sword, sort of thing.
Interesting. So this makes everybody get a quick flash of remembrance of the portal that the creature just came through.
And are they all wearing armor from Cyre?
No.
Just the one?
Yeah. I mean, each of them have, there's no not necessarily uniform, although there may be an armband or something that kind of makes them identifiable as being from the Tower of the Twelve's watch.
And so what do I see in the room here besides these three?
Okay, so the first thing you notice is coming through the door, you nearly trip over the unconscious and bloodied body of a young apprentice in blue robes with red trim, bleeding pretty badly from the head, and with scraggly red hair. And then what you come into a large kind of circular room, which is the lab of Hurdlekin Craw, who you know is to be the Tower of the Twelve's foremost expert on the plane of Xoriat, and he also dabbles in a lot of interplanar experiments involving interplanar travel and observation. So you know that from having worked here at the Tower of the Twelve. But the general layout of the room is that off to one side, there's kind of a lab, which is traditional in how you might picture, with various vials of liquid and things kind of bubbling at a slow burn. And then off to another side, there's somewhat of a desk with various papers and notes strewn about, with books, some of them open, others closed, some of them piling up near the desk. But the central piece of the room are these several kind of pillars with these dragon shards, and which you can see have residual arcs of energy that flow around them. But currently there's nothing there anymore. There formerly was there formerly was a portal, but you wouldn't have known that. But not too far away from there, you see Hurdlekin standing, looking quite unwell, unsteady on his feet, speaking with these individuals. And for Tacitus's benefit, I will let each of our humble heroes introduce themselves and give him a description of what your character looks like. And I will be stepping away 1 second. I still have the headphones on, though. Go ahead and talk. I'm just getting myself a drink.
Gonna have to hold
So
on to
we'll
that.
wait a little longer.
I could show you my character. So I am trying to put together a stupid gnome code on the fly, but it's very hard to do. But this is what my character looks like. He's currently wearing a top hat, so he doesn't have the fancy hairdo.
Gotcha. I don't know why Google Hangouts hate me right now.
He does look up to you in your group because he's a gnome, so 3 foot tall, and smile warmly before turning back to Craw and saying, "Frenzios."
So Hurdlekin eyes the group and says, "It took you guys long enough. There's quite a distressful moment there. I'm glad that these people were able to save me."
Yeah, there seemed to be some delay in the receiving of our distress signals. As soon as we could.
Isn't that convenient?
And then I'll turn to he's bitching plenty, so I'm just gonna turn to the young apprentice and check on him.
All right.
Now, don't be rude to your guest.
So Tony, quick message coming to you.
Alrighty.
Did Tacitus introduce himself at all, or did he just bust through and I just want to clarify really quick.
No, he just kind of burst in expecting trouble. Saw you guys around. I mean, you look rough, but this little kid seems like he might be in if he's
Yeah, I don't think we'll be fighting 12 NPCs and one player character.
I think Tony froze.
so.
Yeah,
Tony, you
There
froze
we go.
for a minute
There
there.
we
Yeah.
I don't know what all you heard, but
we didn't hear most of it. Right at the beginning of
okay. But yeah, Tacitus would not have introduced himself. He, burst in expecting trouble, and then, seeing you all standing, and the little boy not, he would go to the little boy to just make sure he's all right.
Mm-hmm.
I
Tony,
turn, by the way, to Peitri and say, yes, our untimely ride should work over red dwarves. Downright odd every time Iltone ought wave at you. And I look at him like I'm expecting him to understand what I'm saying.
Peitri just nods. He goes, okay. Red dwarf.
Are there like bodies of creatures in here?
There's a lot of puddles of ink, or what look like ink. No, and there's definitely signs of some destruction to the lab, but nothing that you see that would have made any of that would have been responsible outside of the people who are standing in the room.
Hurdlekin, who are these friends of yours?
These are the supposed watch, who are supposed to keep us safe and guard us against any matters that might harm us or endanger us. They play it helping, but I don't see them as being very effective.
You're still alive, aren't you?
This time, not by any means of your assistance, if not for these fellow researchers of Xoriat, I would not still be here.
Well, let me pose to you a question. Prior to your decision to open up a portal to the plane of Xoriat, did you consult the guards and let somebody know that there just might be interdimensional trouble?
And give my enemies a heads up to try and steal my research or jump in on my findings? I think not.
Are your findings worth your life? Because nobody can protect an idiot from itself if you do not take proper precautions. Not even fine guards such as this dwarf. I'm assuming Tacitus is a dwarf.
No, human. Almost, not quite 6 foot.
Biggest fucking dwarf in all the land.
It's a dwarf human. Less than 6 foot.
A dire dwarf human.
All right, so before we continue on, Eivar gave a pretty good description of his character. Marthow and Peitri, if you guys could give Tacitus a description of what your characters look like.
All right. Peitri's a pretty young, scrappy-looking guy at the moment. He normally has shoulder-length, blonde hair, very young features, strong elf features, but like his ears, but you can barely see them behind his hair. But other than that, he normally has shiny armor and a shiny sword, but he's been bleeding out for the last, I don't know, 4 episodes. So He's pretty bloody.
I'll tell the rest of the guard to make sure everybody else is okay, and to assist them however they might be able to. I don't know if I would have, if our guard includes anybody who can do any sort of healing at all. So,
yeah, there is somebody that can provide some medical attention to the young apprentice, and so you see a couple of the guards going down. There's a brief flash as a transfer of healing energy flows into the young apprentice, just enough to kind of reduce the bleeding and lighten the bruises across his head. But a couple of the other guards put together a battlefield stretcher and then begin carrying him off to the infirmary. Meanwhile, several of the other guards are kind of spreading out across the room to make sure that it's secure and that there's no hidden surprises lurking in any of the corners.
Cool. Once I see the boy should be all right, then I'll approach the Hurdlekin, and then the rest of the party. It's just a weird fucking name. Yeah.
Man.
I've been writing Hurdlekin, but Hurdlekin.
So
this is the spelling.
Yeah, I saw it in the email, but I still like Hurdlekin better. His cousin, lesser known.
You can keep calling him Earlkin, and then he'll just making him madder and madder, disrespecting his name. What's your name, Bab?
Yeah.
No, Bob.
After hearing Peitri say, "I've never been arrested before," he looks back at him and just repeats his message. Yes, our untimely ride should work over red dwarfs. Downright odd, every ill tome actively waves at you.
Red dwarf. Got it.
You can see Eivar is beginning to get the sense that Peitri doesn't quite understand the message.
Peitri just backs away from Eivar and starts walking over to Marthow.
This is just so beautiful.
Marthow appears right now. He's wearing a stained black velvet doubloon, like a black velvet pantaloons, with a burgundy colored velvet shirt. It's ripped and tattered with claw marks. You can see Marthow's perfectly beautiful exposed chest underneath. Upon looking at Marthow's face, it's clearly beat up, but you sense that he is in fact a very beautiful man, and even the most stoic of individuals, a smile or a gleam makes their heart flutter.
I just say, no, thank you.
Now, Tacitus, it's at that point that you notice a very familiar face in Elmorn, knowing that you both came from Cyre and you guys actually had some relationship. We don't need to go too much into that because that's Elmorn's character, and I don't want to role play for Elmorn, but that's just something that you notice.
Right.
Oh my God, Elmorn fainted.
Yes.
Good timing.
So yeah, Elmorn, exhausted from the psychic onslaught that his character endured, um, he finally, the last reserves of his energy kind of run out, and he collapses to the floor just as Tacitus realizes and recognizes who it is.
Yeah, I'll make sure he tell the guards to, get something set up for him as well. Make sure he's taken care of. This is good people.
Yeah, so they begin kind of treating him in a way similar to how they were working on the young apprentice.
Did I have any prior knowledge of the party being in the tower?
No, but you definitely have heard of their exploits.
Right.
And so the fact that Elmorn is here, you now put the pieces together of who these people are, the rest of these people.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll just look to everybody then and say, I've heard tale of your exploits. What brings you here?
We have
Well,
come.
I'm not so... Oh yeah, you go.
Have you heard of Fort Deepdark?
I believe.
Well, it is no surprise then. We were the crew that investigated Fort Deepdark, and underneath its ruins, we found a horrifying creature, which we have recently come to learn through here, through the library here, that it is in fact a Dalkir, a being from the plane of Xoriat, the plane of madness.
Would I know anything about these creatures?
So you wouldn't know anything about the creatures that he's describing, but you definitely remember the stories of Fort Deepdark. It's a fort in Karnath that was pretty well established and was one that successfully held off a number of attacks on the border during the last war, but it suddenly sank into the ground not too long ago, and the town around it was destroyed. And it was thought that there were no survivors until the people before you intervened, and much of the town was actually able to be saved, and there were a good number of survivors as a result of their actions. Although any further knowledge about what actually transpired has not really been made public.
But not so much their actions, more so Peitri's actions, as he saved all the people.
That's
in the
right,
hole.
yes.
And you would have saw his picture in his better days.
Yes, Peitri is definitely the most famous of them all, as he's gotten the majority of the credit. And so probably seeing him now before you, well, it doesn't quite match up with what you might have expected.
Yeah.
I realize that this information is somewhat daunting and hard to believe, but you look as if we could trust you, and unlike Hurdlekin here, we're not going to let pride stand in the way of saving our own skins. At least I won't.
Before then, we should get Elmorn to put him in a zone of truth, and we should ask him some questions. We'll wait for Elmorn, though. What's that patch there, Tacitus?
Tacitus.
Tacitus.
I used to be. I was in the military during the war. I'm from Cyre. Clearly, no longer. I am from. Yeah. It's a
To Carnath.
It's
No offense to anyone here is from Carnath. It's just it help.
Well, they're passed out, so it doesn't really matter.
it is a long story. Here by accident, I'll just say that.
That's an interesting blade you got there.
I'll let go, and it kind of just fades away. Yeah, I just use it every once in a while.
Marthow reaches into kind of deep into his like trousers, and he pulls out a wooden handle. His trousers pop on out like a full frontal. He pulls out a wooden handle, and it looks like a beat up wooden handle, and then out of it comes like it forms into like a giant shadow like blade as well. It's like it looks somewhat similar to mine.
Similar, yes.
I'm not sure of its origin, but it's coming quite useful. Perhaps these are sister blades or brothers.
Difficult to say. Mine requires specific arcane knowledge to conjure.
I see. It doesn't really fit in with me so much. Knowledge is just not my thing. Only looks.
Indeed.
As you can tell.
No, thank you.
So, both.
All right, so
Is it our mission to go and save Fenris or whatever his name is?
Fenris.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I know. I was just making sure, Marthow and Peitri remembered.
Yeah, that's his name. Not the rogue guy.
Fenris
is Droaam from where we are. Like,
I'm sorry?
how far away is Droaam from where we are?
So
Like massive
It's-
journey, or like I don't need number of miles necessarily.
So it is pretty much on the exact opposite end of the continent.
Not even in my mental map of Corvair, which isn't super extensive, but like has the middle. Droaam's not on it, so
Right. Well, so to give you an idea, for you personally, so there's Zalargo, and then Breland, and then Droaam. So Breland is kind of in between Droaam and Zalargo, on the southern end of the continent. Droaam is kind of westish, whereas Carnath is more northeast.
it's a pretty good hike. Are there lightning rails that go there? Because nobody likes that place.
There are Orien trade routes that do go there. Marthow, give me a intelligence check. You can add your proficiency bonus to it.
He's not here right now.
Where'd he go?
He said, "Be right back."
All right. I see that now. All right, so when Marthow gets back, you guys might have a better idea of some knowledge around that area.
So, Tacitus, I'm looking for a squire, as Elmorn isn't a very good one. Would you be willing to be my squire, sir?
How old are you, son?
I'm pretty young, but that's besides the point. Well, then you could be my bodyguard, possibly.
Look, if you need help, just ask.
Yes, I need a bodyguard.
Just for reference for everyone else, we're at Korth, which is in the upper right side of this map on my screen. And Droaam is way down in the lower left.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So it's a bit way.
Man.
Yeah. So, Marthow, give me a intelligence check, and you can add your proficiency bonus to it.
Okay. I don't know if that's going to help much. 10.
Okay. All right. You know something. You don't know as much as I was hoping you'd know, but I'll send it to you.
I could use an action point.
But if you like.
Is it something I might know?
Oh, that's better. 21.
Okay. Yeah. You might know more than I intended. So,
knowing where Droaam is, Marthow kind of sighs. We had such a hard time getting here. And this is, we traveled a significant amount less than we'll have to travel to get to Droaam. God damn it.
Well, we are in a library. There may be a professor who knows about portals.
I think we're looking at him, but maybe he's better with portals than
Not those kind of portals.
Hurdlekin, are you any good with portals to this plane?
What?
my expertise is purely in interplanar travel and observation. I have anything that would require travel between 2 points on the same plane, I'm less well versed in. If I were to try anything, you would just as easily end up somewhere in the Mournland or Frostfell, Arganessen. I do not have that fine of control. I have more, I guess you could call it, in essence, kind of brute force ability with interplanar magics.
I see.
Can I tell if he's talking out his ass right now, or?
Oh, you know him well enough that you absolutely do know that he is just talking out his ass.
Okay. I'll like, Hurdlekin, come on. Clearly they're not here to steal whatever secrets you think you have. Help them out.
He lets out a sigh and says, I will not talk to the individual who has so consistently failed to take the reports of individuals aiming after my life. But I do owe you four a debt. And I would be gladly willing to provide you with support in this matter, but it is true that it would be extremely difficult for me to finally arrange it so that you arrived safely at the destination you intend. So that sounds a little bit more on point, Tacitus. That while he could probably get them there, maybe not exactly safely.
I'll just like look around the room at all the whatever's on the floor and like, That's probably accurate.
Where in the city is the embassy for House Orion? It has been some time since I've been here, so my memory, leaves me.
Tony, message coming to you.
Okay.
All right, Tacitus. If you are who you say you are you a lichen, perchance?
A lichen.
Yes.
I
see grey hair on your head. That looks very lichen-like.
How many lichens have you met?
I've met... Don't talk to me right now. Maybe one. Maybe you.
No, I am no lichen.
This
is just mishap.
Tacitus, at that, you as Peitri starts to mention lichens, and as you look over his garb and you see clear emblems associated with the Church of the Silver Flame, it makes a lot more sense, as the Church of the Silver Flame famously had a kind of crusade to eliminate lycanthropes a few centuries ago during the lycanthropic scourge. But, there hasn't been any real lycanthrope sightings or anything in quite some time.
Gotcha. It was Marthow that was asking about House Orion, yeah?
Yes.
I say there's an embassy here. I can lead you to them if you like.
That would be most wonderful. I may know somebody that might be able to help us out, and hopefully, our journey to Droaam will be much less eventful than our journey to the Tower of the 12.
I'll turn to Hurdlekin and say thank you to the people who saved you.
You don't need to treat me as a child just because I'm shorter than you. I'm a bit older. But thank you.
Hurdlekin, I have one more question that's been kind of sitting on my mind. You mentioned that you seemed incredulous that we've seen a Dalkir, yet you seemed to soften when I described it. Now tell me, how would you know what a Dalkir looks like if they're not well described in texts?
Because they are the only texts that have ever actually described what a Dalkir looks like are those written by Mordain Fleshweaver. And despite the fact that you had access to the library, those specific texts are kept under special collection, which only a select few have access to.
And yourself being one of them, I'm sure.
Well, of course. I wanted to become an expert of Xoriat without gaining the trust of the council to conduct such research.
Tell me, how are the writings of Mordain Fleshweaver? What kind of person does he appear to be?
Cryptic, cruel, his intentions confusing at best, at worst terrifying. But as
How
a
is-
researcher and as a one looking for the advancement of arcane and magical knowledge. He's without peer. His brilliance is...
Yeah, don't you remember? He said Fleshweaver's intelligence dwarfs his own.
There is no what's that word? There is no shame in recognizing one's superiors, and he is certainly that.
I wouldn't know. I haven't met mine yet.
Tacitus is a little proud. A little proud.
How is his handwriting?
Oh, my handwriting's great. I say, I'm going to go find a pen and paper.
You find one quite easily.
And then I
But-
scribble something down and I hand it to Peitri. See how good my handwriting is? And then I send him that message in the chat.
Yes, it is. Fuck, hang on, give me a minute.
So Hurdlekin looks confused and kind of tilts his head and is like, what do you want to know about his penmanship? What would you...
Is it crisp?
Why would that be important?
Well, I wouldn't expect a fabulous researcher such as yourself to be versed in calligraphy. But my my butler Charles went through a phase, and I learned a thing or two. You can tell a lot about a man from the way he holds his pen and the way he marks his characters. A deft pen in clear script shows mastery and conviction. A scribbled script that's hard to read shows that not all is quite there.
I think I understand what you're saying, human.
Or they're in a hurry.
What's that?
Or they're in a hurry.
That is just what I would expect a Lycan would say.
Again, how many lichens have you met?
I've met one.
Yeah, it's
Officially.
still one.
He met one.
She was very beautiful.
Still just one.
Very well.
So Hurdlekin answers Marthow. Well, in terms of his penmanship, it is at times clear and with purpose, as you kind of say, but there are other times when his writing is a little bit more muddled, as if he is trying to get the thoughts down before they leave his mind, or as if they're perhaps flowing out of him faster than he can capture.
Do there seem to be any ideas or any subjects in particular that inspire these muddled sections that you read?
There are so many volumes of books and knowledge that he has left, that I have read, that I couldn't say. I never was much concerned with the penmanship so much as the knowledge contained within.
I see. For all the lines you've read, it seems you haven't read between the lines. And that sometimes has the most important answers. Now, what are the chances that we may take a book on leave from his collection? If we go to Rome, it is possible that such a thing could help us when we hopefully, or should I say inevitably, meet him.
And what purpose would such a thing serve?
To know more of his mind, to learn of what he values, so that perhaps we can have an easier time finding him. Or to study and discover perhaps any weaknesses that he may have, so that we may
weaknesses. The Council of the 12 are not just bureaucratic or diplomatic leaders of this institution. They are amongst the most powerful wizards that have been a part of this place. And the fact that through their combined talents, they could not execute Mordain. He is one without weakness.
Your council hasn't had one as beautiful as Marthow on it. So, you know, or one as short as Eivar. Or as perfectly coiffed purple hair, may I say. Or as stiff and menacing as Elmorn. As he looks over at Elmorn, who's just like passed out.
You see, as you look over at him, you see somebody trying to give him smelling salts and then just having no effect. And then a sudden snore erupting from his throat.
Or as brave as Peitri, who leaps like a freak off of towers with no regard to his own well-being, as you most certainly sensed or saw.
Not to mention tackling orcs three times his size. But Hurdlekin just kind of looks at you strangely and says, "You talk funny for a human." But regardless, his tomes and notes are too valuable to allow to leave this institution. I'm sorry. I owe you my life, but that is something that would require the council to approve.
How long would it take to get a hearing with this council?
Well, I guess that depends. Who do you know that might be able to influence the council?
They know you, Hurdlekin.
True, but
They did save your life.
And we know Brevan.
You might have more luck getting him to assist you as a patron. He kind of gives a side eye to Tacitus and says, "I'm not exactly in the good graces of the council currently."
Clearly.
Still, maybe if we offer to like track down the Fleshweaver guy, they'll be a little more willing to let us speak some information with us.
As you did save my life, I will give you this piece of advice. If you do seek audience with the council, do not mention that you are seeking out Mordain. The council would sooner forget his existence and not try to... What's the expression you humans are so fond of? Poking the bee's nest or whatever. If you were to mention that, they might put you in shackles at once, because they are not interested in any matters that involve him. Not just because of his power and the threat that he represents, but also because it's a black mark in the history of the council. Somebody was able to defy their authority and leave without consequence is not something they wish to be remembering or once more faced with.
Well, I'm sure they would relish the chance of getting him brought to justice.
If they believed you actually could, perhaps that would be different, but I doubt that groups such as yourselves would seem qualified to do such a thing.
Marthow like raises his hand and then like kind of falters, and then he falls onto Tacitus.
Catch him, I guess.
So Tacitus goes like, ah! And or no, Hurdlekin kind of goes like, ah! And Tacitus catches Marthow before collapsing on the
I'll
floor.
snap at a couple more guards. Get something for this man.
Marthow starts dry heaving.
Does he have?
Oh yeah, you're all nauseous and green around the gills.
I'm poisoned, so.
Are you a long-haired person or?
Short hair.
Okay, so I don't need to hold your hair out of your face.
Yeah.
He said no, thank you. Take a hint.
I just kind of turn up a little bit, or I guess I'm not really turning up to Eivar. I just kind of like look over, kind of like dry heave in his direction. I can't really control it at this point.
So Peitri notices that he's been swinging his sword around like a madman as he's been talking. He's like, "Oh," and looks at Eivar and puts it away.
So I guess we're going after Frederick then, or whatever his name is.
Mordain.
Maybe we should find a name or something, because clearly Elmorn needs the rest, and I think Marthow may need the rest as well.
Bucket.
One of the guards takes one of the trash bins from the lab and puts it under your face.
Inky blackness comes out.
Is it liquidy or is it like viscous?
Viscous.
Yummy. All right. So at that point, Hurdlekin looks to Tacitus and says, "Perhaps you should get him to the infirmary. He
Yeah.
seems to need some help."
Anybody else coming?
I may need to borrow Eivar for using that weird alien thing which we saw a while ago. I don't want to touch it.
All right. So I'm going to wander off with Peitri, I guess.
All right. So Hurdlekin, or not Hurdlekin, Tacitus, you have a special amulet that, because the way that these doors work, they're created to only go to the locations that are specifically attuned to the sheets of paper and the glyphs that are given to any guests. But as one of the watch, you have a special amulet that allows you to, with a thought, change the frequency of the particular magical emanation within your amulet, and then access other areas of the tower as you need. And so as you open the door and pass through it, you instantly then pass into the infirmary, with Marthow and Elmorn. So as you enter there, the room is white in color, very sterile looking, with bright eternal lights, eternal light spells kind of ensconces around the room, giving lots of visibility to all the areas. There is a single ornamental stained window to the opposite end across from the door. And you see a number of halflings shuffling around the room. Beds line the walls, kind of like one of those, like a hospital or like one of those more older-fashioned type of sanitariums or something. So there's a number of beds around, not really a whole lot of privacy, but these halflings seem to be working pretty expertly on whatever wounds and illnesses and addressing patients, each of them bearing a similar mark, although not necessarily always in the same place, which gives you the idea that these are halflings of House Jorasco. Tacitus, you know that this infirmary is not just an infirmary, but it's also somewhat of a learning hospital, in a sense, for halflings of House Jorasco to continue to build their skill, since as this is the Tower of the 12, a lot of it is focused on magical and arcane research and training. And so it's one of those happy little, not coincidence, but happy little things that kind of combine functions of having an infirmary present, as well as an opportunity for these halflings to build their skill and learn, as well as others who are trained or looking to be trained in the arts of healing under House Jorasco's tutelage.
Got it. It's a lot of nurse interns.
Yes, exactly.
Marthow kind of through, like, his head's like bowed, and kind of is really out of it, but he does notice kind of the sigil of House Jorasco, and he sees some of the people walking around, and he turns to Tacitus. He's like, and he kind of whispers, "Hide this," and he pulls that, and he like kind of like shakily goes into puts his hand in his trousers and pulls out a wand, and he kind of like tries to like sneakily get to Tacitus, like,
hey, that used to be cool, but post-sexual harassment, you're not allowed to do that. Whenever you want.
I'll just like. Okay.
Martha, give me a sleight of hand check.
It wouldn't be very slight after I grab it, so because it would be like, what am I supposed to do with this?
A 17. He kind of like shoves it into his hands, like, hide it, hold on to it till we're out of here.
All right, so you, Martha, you notice that you do this at a time when every single halfling seems to be paying attention to something else.
I'll put it in a inside pocket, I guess. I don't know, whatever.
All right, so one of the Jorasco gnomes approaches you guys as you enter and says, "Oh, Tacitus, what seems to be the problem? Your friend is now looking quite well. Here, let's sit him down over here, get him a bed and situated, and then you can explain what it is that's happening."
Well, did anybody come with us, or is it just me and him?
No, there's also a couple of the other soldiers that brought along Elmorn, and then you also, in the bed next to you, see the apprentice, who is now conscious, although looking groggy.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just how they were in. It seems they were in some sort of kerfuffle in Hurdlekin's research area, I guess. The young apprentice here might be able to shine a little bit more light on what happened.
Kerfuffle? Oh, well, if you were with Hurdlekin, the young apprentice shared everything about what happened over there. Some kind of monster and Hurdlekin releasing it or something. You know, the council really should do something about his studies. They're extremely dangerous.
Yeah, my hand's not in there, see? I don't know.
It seems every other week his apprentice is coming by with some other injury or whatnot, and amazingly, he's always unscathed. Poor boy.
He should really get out of here.
Yeah. Well, he's committed. God, or host bless his soul. Anyways, let's look at your friend here, and then the halfling pulls out what looks to be some kind of very smooth, polished stone. And then he places it on Marthow's chest. And then it begins to glow with a golden light that kind of spreads all across Marthow's body. And there are certain areas that kind of have a different color to them. So there's like maybe dark greens or reds that kind of highlight across Marthow's body, and then slowly the glow kind of recedes back into the stone. And he says, "Oh, this is interesting. It seems that there's some kind of collection of some substance or poison within his chest and lungs, but even stranger is some kind of something is wrong with his brain."
Hey, I just met him. I wouldn't know.
Is Marthow conscious?
Yeah, he's just kind of like out of it.
Okay. So the halfling asks, tell me, what is exactly that happened to you? And what is it that you're feeling right now?
I feel sick. And then he just like pukes viscous black stuff onto his shoes. And then creatures from Xoriat. Ugh. He pukes again. Bites, bruises, screaming, poison.
So it definitely looks to be some sort of foreign substance within your lungs. We can work to try and remove that. But this issue with your brain, it's not an illness or disease. It is not a substance. It's not a foreign body, but rather some other kind of affliction. I've never seen that color before. Hold on one second. I'm going to go and get my superior. And then he kind of shuffles over on his little halfling legs to some other halfling who then comes by, and then they repeat the trick with the stone. And then he says, "Yep." She says, "Oh my, this is not an affliction of the flesh, but rather one of the soul. is something has left an imprint on you, child.
Yes.
Well, we'll get you taken care of with this with what is going on in your lungs and chest. That shouldn't be a problem. But this, we'll need to do some further testing and study before we can know how we can best assist you. And then they start getting out some hoses and various pumps that look like they're going to be exceedingly uncomfortable. As well as doing some chanting and creating some lines of chalk to circle around the bed as a kind of focus of sorts.
Marthow's too out of it to even really care.
Do I get the impression that maybe like some sort of perhaps an identify might give us details on what's afflicting his brain?
Identify doesn't normally work like that necessarily, but you could, if you wanted to spend an action point and the spell slot, a second level spell slot, then that would work.
I mean, I was gonna ritually cast it because I don't have it prepared.
Okay. Well, you can ritually cast it, but still sacrifice the second level spell slot with the action point, and then it would be, you would magically supercharge the spell enough to maybe get something out of it.
What if I... Okay.
And this is because identify, normally it works on magical essences and auras. This is not necessarily magical in nature, but the divination magic can maybe be changed enough to kind of change the purpose of the spell.
Mm-hmm.
But okay. I would also kind of want you to describe how you go about changing the ritual in a manner to charge it.
They're stones that they use to run that sort of detection. I would probably place it on one side of his head, and my pearl that I would use for the identify on the opposite side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably, yeah, because normally wouldn't up and identifies. I'd probably adjust the chanting, in the incantation to try and weave in a little more power to it.
Mm-hmm.
I could, since I would have one of my power surges, I could probably maybe. Normally, it's used to boost the power of a damaging spell, but maybe I can use it to surge into the identify instead.
Okay, so if you wanted to use that rather than the spell slot, we could do that. So you're definitely going to learn something, but I want you to give me a Arcana check to determine exactly how much you learn.
Okay. Arcana, let's see. All right. I haven't rolled these dice as a player in a while, so let's see what happens. Fuck. Total 10.
Do you want to use an action point to re-roll that?
That would be 2 down. Yeah, fuck it. Might as well. I'll do it.
Gotta use them or lose them, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll the other dice. Fuck, are you serious? That's another. It's the exact same roll. So 3 on the die, plus 7.
All right, I'm gonna send you a quick email. While I'm doing that, Peitri and Eivar, what are you guys doing? Since you guys have stayed with Hurdlekin in his lab.
Yeah. So
Right.
I say to, oh yeah. All right. So I say to Ivar, well, I'm scared of that weird tentacle thing, and you've used it once before, so I need you to use that. And I've heard in a scripture, I think it was called Gnomes Monthly, that there was a person around here which could give you some sort of hair, like some hair gel to fix your hair. But I need your help first, so come with me.
All right.
I need your help.
So I'll go with him.
Okay, so I say think of the Fey lands and ask it about that.
So we're going back to the room with the tentacle thing?
Yeah, the tentacle thing.
I think we have to go back to the main lobby. I don't know. Can we get back to the room with the tentacle thing from here?
Sure.
Oh, you mean not the tentacle thing, the giant brain in the jar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you would need to go back through the lobby and ask to see that, and then the receptionist, she seems to be a bit swamped, but she gives you guys a nice little smile of recognition and helps you out and gets you there.
All right, cool.
So Tony, so that you know, Tacitus would know that the Tower of the 12 utilizes a large brain in the jar. It's probably about 3-4 times larger than a human's brain, and there's like kind of a council before it that when you touch it, what it does is it translates your thoughts into concrete concepts, and then gives you some information as to either the particular professor that would be an expert in the field or the question that you're asking, or where in the library you would be able to find it. So it's basically kind of like a arcane version of a living computer.
Dewey Decibel.
Yeah.
Alrighty. It is the brain of Dewey Decimal himself.
Yes. In fact, they call it the Dewey.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I call it. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but
yeah. It's the unofficial name of the thing.
Yeah.
It's actually the brain of a giant duck. They got the wrong Dewey.
Yep. If they got the right Dewey, it would actually give you all the information right then and there. Instead of you have to go look it up afterwards.
So when we get back there, I'll ask, what is it that you want me to look up?
It's the Fey lands. Something to do with gnomes. I'm not sure.
Again, ask a giant brain. Feyland, something to do with gnomes. I'm not sure. I think that really kills it.
There was a fairy and some king. I don't know, a fairy tale.
Yeah, I want to look at things on fairy tales then.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Are you looking for information on Thelanis or something else?
No, it's definitely not. It could be Thelanis, but It's probably to do with gnomes and fays and stuff.
Still got information on the fairy court?
Possibly. It's definitely Thalanis.
Maybe I missed this, but Peitri, why are you having Eivar ask for you?
Because I'm scared of the thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good reason.
Yeah. Sorry to drag you along, Ivar.
No problem. So I forget exactly, how did we make queries in this thing?
You just once you touched the council, it kind of glowed and did a mental interface with you, and then you were suddenly mentally you're transported into a different room with this brain.
Dewey.
Dewey, and then it kind of asks you to picture that which you seek knowledge on.
So I know what he said, but I'm going to picture like my image of what the fairy court in Thalanis would look like, whether that's accurate or not. I have no idea. Although the title for this episode could now be "There's Something Wrong with These Brains."
Yes. So the brain accepts your query and it identifies. We lost Tony. You seek knowledge on Thalanis. Do you wish to speak with a professor or wish to seek the section of the library associated with this topic? Is there further query that you need?
The professor. Let's go with the professor.
Okay. So, let's see. I'm going to bring out my story dice to come up with who this professor is. Dun, dun, dun. So the professor is, so the brain puts a mental image in your mind of the professor, and it's actually a half-orc, who is, his name is Teepbeak Fingersnap.
Oh yeah, the Fingersnap family. Yeah.
Oh, just so you guys know what I drew this from. For Teepbeak, I used these two dice. And Fingersnap came from this.
Oh, okay.
Just pictured him breaking fingers.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, what on there? Do you have any reference to creatures from Xoriat fighting fey creatures or fey weapons?
The brain kind of shudders in confusion, and says, "Please clarify query. Simpler concept."
Is there any reason to believe that fairy-made weapons would be effective against extraplanar creatures, or more effective than normal weapons? Particularly with respect to creatures from Xoriat.
So, the brain kind of shudders again and says, I can give you simple answers to questions. For further explanation, I can direct you to books in the library or to experts in the field. With regards to effects of extraplanar entities in conflict, would need to seek out, and then it gives a series of numbers or like basically directs you to the book that you can find in the Library of the Plains.
All right, I'll take note of that book then.
Yeah. But yeah, just because this brain can kind of direct you to where to find the knowledge, and it can also kind of break down your mental concepts or constructs to kind of verbalize it or make them concrete to find, but it can't really provide you with answers necessarily. The brain is more digital library catalog than it is Google.
Right. So I will step out of the machine and say, well, there's an expert on all things fairy who's apparently working here in the tower. And then there's a book I want to check out in the Library of the Plains.
Well, let's do both.
So back out.
We'll go find the book. We'll go find the book. While we're looking for the book, Peitri keeps on asking about gnome hair gel. If anyone answers, he'll take it on.
So you're asking Eivar about gnomish hair
No,
gel?
I'm asking everyone we're walking past about gnome hair gel.
Most everybody just looks at you like you're some kind of schizo, like,
Okay,
you know,
whatever. I just keep
like
walking.
the person shouting to themselves in the park. And,
Well,
you know, that's not a far off description since you are bloody, battered, with a constantly bleeding wound from the chest, mixed with, you know, this ink, and you're walking around shouting about gnomish hair gel.
Yeah. Well, maybe someone will be able to answer.
So with that, let's take a quick break, just like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
Peitri sounds like somebody you want to bring home.
Brought to you by a quick sponsor from Australia, Coca-Cola Raspberry. You guys tried this shit before?
No.
They don't have that here.
It's so good, dude.
In order to get something like that, we'd have to go to one of those machines where they do the fountain drinks, where
Yeah?
you can add those. They have, I don't know if they have
Like
them in
soda
Australia.
streams kind of thing.
Well, kind of, but it's more like, so when you go here in the States, when you go to a fast food restaurant,
Yeah.
they just have the fountain drink machines that you can.
Oh, like you press the
use.
button and it goes in the cup. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
And so they have certain ones where you can get the specific type of drink you want, but then you can add different flavors that you wouldn't normally, because it's got like the different syrups and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, we've got Hungry Jack's. I think it's Burger King for you. We have the soda stream things or whatever. But yeah, this is like an actual one branded by Coke, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Wonder,
I'd be interested in trying.
wonder if they will.
it's really good. It tastes like because at Hungry Jack's, like you've got like the Coke syrup and like the raspberry Fanta. Imagine them mixed together. That's what it tastes like.
We don't
It's
drink
really
a lot
good.
of Fanta exists in the States, but it's not super popular.
Oh, really?
No.
It's amongst the more popular Nazi drinks, though.
Okay.
The Nazis were involved in the formation of the company that makes Fanta.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, because
Fanta's owned by Coke, though.
Right, it is now, but originally it's like Volkswagen. Volkswagen was originally.
Oh, right. Okay, I follow. Oh, yeah.
Is that like the division of Volkswagen that they like didn't want anybody to know about? And they just kind of like wrote it off. Like, these guys are weird. They're into sodas and such.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Anyways, yeah, sorry. I thought that bring that up because it's pretty cool. Anyways,
I
right back.
appreciate it. I'm gonna need to look it up.
Hey, man. Good stuff. Oh, he did.
What I miss?
Not much. I think
Taking a break.
just
Yeah.
yeah. And then just before that, the Marthow and Eivar made a decision to go and get the book at the library.
Okay. Then I might take advantage right quick and get a little more coffee.
Go for it.
Another proud sponsor from Australia, Coffee Coke. Now that is foul. Don't try that.
Coffee Coke?
Yeah, I've got a bowl of it. I'll be right back. It's show and tell time.
Wait. Did you say a bowl?
A bottle. I haven't got a bowl of it. What?
Like, I'm picturing, like, a cat licking milk out of a bowl.
He's Australian, so he's got that Eivar.
Chicken affairs, but not this one. Today taste make.
What is that? What was that sound?
Here we go. Coffee Coke. There it is.
Jesus Christ.
I think that's just it's like there are certain flavors of things we can't get in this country. Like
This is so surprising. You guys own Coca-Cola.
We own Kit Kat too, but there's all sorts of flavors in Japan we never see here.
Yeah, like
I know.
wasabi. Yeah, fair enough.
Or Tim Tams only recently started to be sold here.
Yeah, we got Tim Tams. We got
What
all
are
of them.
Tams?
They're chocolate cookies.
Yeah, chocolate biscuits.
Yeah. People we call them cookies. In America, we have cookies.
Oh, okay. Right. Cookies, gotcha.
People rave about them. Maybe they're different. I don't know if they're better in Australia. They're okay.
Yeah, I don't know. They're not bad. I like mint slices better.
That one I don't know.
Oh, okay. They're like, I can't explain that one. It's like a little circle biscuit kind of thing, and it's just chocolate with mint on the inside. Yeah.
I think there's a Girl Scout cookie.
Yeah, it's just like that actually, like exactly like that. Yeah. Because one of my roommates are American and they brought it over. Yeah. But yeah, coffee Coke. It's really gross. If you guys ever get it, don't try that. It tastes like a wet coffee bean. Like it's gross.
Well, I think coffee to begin with is gross, so.
Oh, fair enough.
So I Googled Tim Tam, and then one of the things that came up was the Tim Tam Slam.
Oh,
Which-
please share.
Which, like, so apparently it's just taking a Tim Tam and, like, try slamming a drink through it. And the illustrations are just kind of weird.
Oh yeah, because you can like you can like suck it up like a straw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't do that. That's weird.
Especially number 2 is kind of a weird picture.
Yeah.
So the only international drink thing that I picked up was when I was in England, somebody introduced me to the idea of strawpedoing.
Torpedo.
Yeah. So it's like if you have a bottle of some alcohol or beer or something, you take a straw, you bend it around the side, and then you chug it because it's like an air valve. So it allows it to go down faster.
Wow. Okay, fair enough.
Nice. Sounds like it's useful at a rugby party.
Yeah. I've actually, I want to say I've introduced it a couple of times at different events, but I don't think it's really caught on, strangely enough.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You'd think that ways to slam your beer faster would be a hit with this.
Aren't all your beers light over there as well?
Not all of them, but the
most
ones
of
that
them.
we consume in mass quantity, yeah.
Right. Okay.
'Cause we're not gonna just let good beer be kind of disrespected in that way. You enjoy good beer, You slam bad beer.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't think we've only got hard beer.
I looked it up. Coke always owned Fanta, but apparently what happened is in Nazi Germany they couldn't get the materials to make. So the bottling centers run in Germany Fanta as an alternative with stuff they could get, and thus the flavors of Fanta were born.
Very nice.
Wanna Fanta? Don't you wanna? Okay. All right, Tony, you ready?
Yep.
All right. So you go to the library, you find the book that you're looking for in question. Give me an investigation check to kind of flip through it, because I'm assuming that you're not going to try and read the whole thing through.
Yeah, I'm good at this though. I suppose.
Look at the pictures.
I suppose I can't get help because it's one book.
No, but if Peitri wanted, he can make his own separate check.
I'm going to use an action point to re-roll that, as that was unimpressive. 29.
All right. So you're able to skim through it, but you're able to pick out a couple of really good tidbits of information, and I'm going to email those to you now.
That was a natural 20, by the way.
Oh, it was a natural 20.
Yeah.
Well, that changes things.
Not
a
just
bit.
tidbits. Here's the whole contents of a book. Bang.
Oh, that's... like that episode of Futurama where Bender gets the extra processors and he just starts reading through the books.
I didn't see that one. I don't think.
So since there may be a bit that I'm going to share with you, Kurt, and it's not necessarily relevant to the session, I'm just going to send you an email afterwards about what you learned from the book.
Fair enough.
So then after the book, you guys are going to go and talk to Teepbeak?
Yeah. Broken fingers.
Finger snap.
Finger snap.
Yeah.
Finger snap.
Which is actually a pretty good name for a half-orc,
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get to that part, Tacitus and Marthow, you guys are in the infirmary. And Tacitus, you learned that information that I shared with you. The halflings, meanwhile, have completed their ritual to extract the poison and whatever other viscous substance, foreign substance, was in Marthow's chest and lungs.
I like that you clarified foreign. Because just extracting viscous fluids was a bit much.
Yes. They were able to separate out the blood and the important stuff that he needs to keep in there. So, but as a after effect of that process, Marthow, you are feeling a little dazed and kind of like drugged, with a slight euphoria going on. So the halfling lets you know that they're currently unable to do anything about the thing that they found in your brain. They would need to do further studies. And you see a couple of the halflings walk away and begin kind of discussing.
I'm fine. I'm let's go. So,
Like you're moving just yet there, buddy.
why not?
Just trust the little gnomes on this one. Eh? Now, and then I'll talk to him a little more quietly, and I'll just just kind of ask him like, so what do you know? What's they were talking about with this business inside your brain?
I have an idea.
Yeah, well, I have an idea as well, but
It's none of their concern.
well, if this thing spreads like it seems like it wants to do, it might become a concern. It sounds like it could become a concern.
It must be a remnant from the Daukir when we first met it. Perhaps Erlkin Craw would be able to provide a little more insight on this. He seems to know these things. Maybe he also has a similar affliction. He seemed a little off.
As is the case with a lot of people here. When one specializes in one field for so long, they become if you feel like you have it under control, then we'll see. This thing, I did my own little bit of magic, and it feels like it is alive.
Do you have an indication of how long?
I couldn't determine. Maybe I can try again another time, but right now all I could tell is it seems alive and it feels like it wants to spread.
Perhaps we should inquire with Hurdlekin about this.
Indeed.
He seems like he would know something. Or at least we could probe his brain too and see if the same thing exists.
Maybe, yeah. We could also, ask Dewey about it.
Dewey. Yeah, the brain thing.
The brain, yeah.
We could do that.
That's what we call it. Not everybody calls it that. Only I call it that. It's whatever.
I'm sure you're only here at night. I understand.
Indeed.
Do you have a pen and a paper?
I'm sure I do.
Can I have it?
Sure.
Marthow scribbles a note and then he puts it in his pocket.
You must have had any. You didn't say if you could borrow them.
What?
You don't only asked if I had any. That was it. I answered.
You didn't have any?
No, I did. No, I was just saying. You asked if I had any. I said, yeah.
Oh.
You had to ask to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I asked if I got it or if I could have some.
Not right away.
Yeah, it took a moment.
Yeah.
All right, so you make that, you scribble that note, and you put it in your pocket, and then Tacitus gets his pen back.
Then they have a conversation about him getting the pen because he doesn't remember that he scribbled the note. In his pocket.
Oh, but I watch like a hawk. Like pens disappear around here.
They do. All right. So, what do you guys? What's your next step?
Let's go find Hurdlekin. Let's examine his brain.
We could do that maybe if he'll consent to that. I might need a moment to recharge.
Fair enough. Perhaps in the meantime, we should find where the others have gone to.
Indeed.
Ano!
Yo!
What took so long, man?
Told you I'd be late. Sorry.
All right. Well, Ano, this is Tony. Tony is going to be one of the new players joining us.
What's up?
How's it going?
So Ano plays Elmorn, and Tony plays Tacitus, and you guys are both from Cyre, and you both know each other.
Oh, I saw the email. Yeah. All right.
So you're currently kind of Ano, you were passed out because not long after the situation of the conflict, the battle and everything, and then during some of the conversation that took place, and then you kind of got weak and fainted, and so now you're in the infirmary and you're just kind of coming to.
Okay. Is anyone else in the infirmary?
So Marthow he just got treated, had some stuff removed from his chest and revelation that there's something in his brain. And then Tacitus is there. Peitri and Eivar are not with you.
Okay.
Do we see him wake?
Yeah. So you notice that Elmorn is kind of coming too.
All right. So this is after the fight with the black goo monsters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't exactly get a chance to watch that video yet, so.
No worries. Just know that you nearly came close to dying. Everybody did, because every single round, in addition to whatever else other damage you took, you are taking 15 psychic damage, automatic at the start of every round, and the battle went on for 4, nearly 5 rounds.
I had at least like 1 or 2 rounds left before I was going to drop. I was at like 25.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and he wasn't even directly involved in the fighting because he's an archer.
Wow. And this is with you running my character, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you almost got him killed. All right.
So go ahead and describe Elmorn, what his appearance and everything, as well as any injuries, so that Tony can have an idea. And then Tony, if you could describe for Ano what Tacitus looks like.
Yep.
I wish I would have watched the fight because I don't really know exactly what injuries, physical, if any, would come from that fight.
So I will say that the things that you were fighting were they were inkies, or that's what we're kind of calling them. So they were like 3 foot tall creatures that were kind of using their limbs and kind of amorphous form to grapple with people, and then also pierce into your flesh, and kind of their viscous bodies could kind of intermingle with your wounds, and kind of, poison and things like that. In addition, you had the constant psychic damage going on. And then some of them were, even if they couldn't necessarily pierce you or grapple you, they attempted to kind of use their bodies to bludgeon you, and they also had teeth to bite you.
Do you remember any choice injuries that Elmorn took during the fight while you were running?
Sorry, what?
Do you remember any big hits that Elmorn took while you were running him?
So I kind of did yours a little bit more freeform. I didn't actually necessarily always roll for you or against you. And I wasn't necessarily describing too much about what Elmorn was doing, as I was more focused on kind of what else was going on. So you kind of have free reign to describe it and figure it out for how you think it might have gone. You did have a couple of those creatures on you through most of the fight.
Okay. Elmorn looks just like me, except darker, taller, balder. I have hair. And way more muscular. About 6'1", and he wields a halberd. I would assume, though, in the infirmary, his weapons and armor are near him, but not on him. He's got a scar across his neck from an earlier encounter, not this past one, but from a while ago. So I guess I would say it's pretty well healed, but it still looks pretty wicked, like something got him good across the neck.
So that's something new, Tacitus, that your character, seeing Elmorn after having not seen him for a while, that's something that you definitely notice and pick up on.
How long ago was the day of mourning in our setting?
3-4 years ago.
All right.
I would say I probably look a little bit older as well.
I was gonna say we probably both look like older than the last time we saw each other.
In fact, I would look older than you would expect, even after just a couple of years. With graying hair and everything like that, I shouldn't be old enough to be graying.
Okay. Also, I don't know how much backstory Mike gave you, but Elmorn had a daughter that he lost during the day of mourning. So I guess you would have known that he had a daughter. Maybe you never met her, but you would have at least known he had one.
Yeah. That would be significant to me.
Yeah. It's kind of his driving force is the fact that he lost his daughter, and he wants to find out why.
We have very, very similar driving forces.
Oh, there we go. So from the previous fight, the most recent fight, I would say, did these things, like when they grappled with their inky bodies, did they leave burns or marks or anything?
More, you would probably feel it kind of pierce you, because they didn't look like spiky, but as they wrapped around you, they might have had spikes or tendrils trying to branch into you and pierce you.
Did they suck life force or anything like that?
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
But it did kind of, I believe some of it was cold damage.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. So.
Okay. Because if they left any dark marks or anything, I would just say there's a couple spots on Elmorn that look darker than you remember. Yeah, he looks pretty beat up, bruising, cuts, and scratches. But as he rouses from his coma, also Elmorn's voice. His previous encounter, not this past one, with the one before. His vocal cords were damaged, so his speech squeaks every once in a while. So, Tacitus, is that you?
Yeah, man. We barely had a chance to say hi before you passed out back there.
What the? Those things must have done more damage than I thought. Marthow, are you seeing this? Is there a man standing here? Marthow?
You're muted.
Yes. I see. This is Tacitus. I see you have met before.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
I have been working here for a little bit. And I guess I can describe you what I look like now. I still wear the armor, the military armor of Cyre, but without like any like rank indication on it. Also mostly bald, but like side hair like me. It's graying. Again, prematurely. It shouldn't be graying just yet.
Tacitus, why do you look so old?
It's a long story. It's what got me here. I shouldn't be here either, but here I am.
That makes two of us. Well, it's good to see you, old friend.
Indeed.
It feels as if I've just met you.
Yeah. It's been so long. Yeah. Are you well enough to walk? We're going to see Hurdlekin again.
Hurdlekin. He's not...
We're actually... Sorry, we're going to find your other friends first, but then, yeah.
Did Elmorn know that Hurdlekin was alive again before he passed out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although, when you passed out, maybe you didn't remember that whole situation. Maybe you kind of lost consciousness even before, but then kind of were like still on your feet, even though you weren't there.
So Hurdlekin still lives. Good. I think I should be able to get up. Right. Elmorn strains to get up, clutching his side, and sits up in the bed and looks at Marthow. Well, time to go. And he gets up, struggling, but he makes it.
Been waiting on you. Glad you're up. Ready? Let's go. Yeah, let's find them. We need to get out of here.
Is this some new thing with Marthow that I'm not aware of?
What thing?
Why don't you ask Marthow or ask Tacitus? What's wrong with Marthow?
Tacitus, is Marthow well?
Marthow as well. Let's go.
I didn't know him beforehand, but he definitely has something wrong with him.
I see. We should join
we should gather your friends, yes.
Yeah. All right, DM, take it over.
All right, so you guys are going to rejoin with Eivar and Peitri first?
Yep.
All right. Tacitus, you escort everybody to the reception area and ask the receptionist if she has seen, the gnome and the half-elf the description that you give them, and she responds, "Oh yes, they've been through here quite a bit. They are currently visiting with Teetbeak, and you know exactly who that is, and you escort the group there, and you get there just half a second after Peitri and Eivar actually get there."
And Peitri says, "Hey, Duckbeak! You got any gnomish hair gel?"
So you see, so this room is built a bit differently than Hurdlekin's lab. It's a bit smaller, more kind of box-like, unlike where Hurdlekin's was kind of round. This one is more like what you would expect for an actual like study today that you might find, with a desk and shelves of books and paper. That he doesn't have the experimental solvents or chemicals such as Hurdlekin did, or any of the other kind of physical things. His study seems to be really relegated to more of the scholarly book type stuff, and whatever magical experimentation he may be doing may not necessarily require the same components or ingredients. But you do see a large desk before a few windows that look out to the other floating towers that make up the Tower of the 12, as well as the skyline of Korth in the background. And behind the desk is an incredibly large, muscled half-orc who is holding this large book up in front of his face. And as he hears you come in, he just kind of lowers it, and you see this balding half-orc with these very tiny round spectacles kind of hanging off the edge of his nose. So he's kind of like and looking at you, peering over the book, and he says, "Yes, and actually that's Teetbeak, but who are you?"
Sorry, Professor Broken Fingers. I've met King Gerald, and here's his sword, and here's my wounds, and I'm gonna pass out soon. Fix me.
Eivar just looks surprised at this exchange. He was not expecting this.
I also need gnomish hair gel, please.
So Teetbeak just kind of raises an eyebrow, puts down the book, and then folds his hands very, very differently than how you might picture a half-orc, as he quite clearly has some sophistication in his movements and how he presents. And he says, "I'm sorry, am I supposed to know what any of this means?"
Can we get a King Gerald from Dustin?
King Gerald! King
Gerald!
Sorry.
Oh, it's so good.
I had forgotten about that.
You forgot about King Gerald.
Yes, King Gerald, number one.
And who is King Gerald, and why should I be concerned about this sword?
There was a fairy tale, and I fixed the fairy tale, but I didn't really fix it. I broke it.
So his eyes go from the half elf to the gnome, and he looks at the gnome directly and says, "Can you translate, because I'm having a difficult time understanding?"
You're
muted. Kurt, you're muted.
I'll just whisper to Elmorn. That makes two of us.
I'm having a difficult time here too. I don't know what he's talking about. Alanis or something for a while, and there was some weirdness, and he came back with a magic sword. and does seem like it's relatively powerful. Although he did also spend a lot of time stabbing himself with it. It gets complicated. I didn't really pay that much attention.
All right, so the half orc, understanding that this is probably going to take some time, he very calmly and meticulously takes the book from his desk and puts it into one of his drawers. He fixes his glasses and his clothing, and then says, "Well, bring the sword to me. Let me see what it is that you have. I'll humor you for now."
And I hand over the sword, and then I look back at everyone. I'm like,
Professor
"Oh, that's
Blanca.
great. No, that's great." And I look back at Elmorn and I say, "Hey, remember when we wrestled that half orc once? Looks like him."
Peitri, as you bring the sword over, well, I'm gonna email you. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gronkowski. I can't give you this sword right now.
Then how do you expect me to examine it?
I can't let it go. Here, use your half orc strength and rip it from my hands, please.
I'm sorry, but I'm not really interested in wrestling a half-elf with his sword. I'd rather not get myself hurt in the matter.
You call him Gronkowski as a joke, or is it really him?
It's not him.
I was about to fucking throw down.
No, Gronkowski is pretty dead last you saw.
As he should be.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Professor Broken Fingers. I can't give you. I can't drop it. Look, and like he sees me visibly tensing as I attempt to drop it or let it go.
So as you kind of present it across the desk, he does kind of adjust his glasses and lean over just slightly to take a look, but also making sure that he's keeping a safe distance so that if you tried to attack him with the sword, that he'd be prepared to back away. And he also looks to Tacitus and asks, would you step over here to make sure that he doesn't do anything untoward?
Absolutely.
Very well, good. So let's see what we have here. And he takes a look at it, and then you can see his eyebrows kind of furrow as he's studying over the blade. And then at one point he grabs your hand and kind of twists it to kind of get a better look at the different angles of the blade. And then he actually pulls out a strange pair of spectacles that he puts over his glasses and kind of adjusts them, kind of like those jeweler's glasses or things that kind of have the different lenses. And he does a couple of adjustments, looks over it, and then he whistles and he says, "I've never seen a blade such as this before, but it definitely has the essence of the Lannis running through it. How did you come across this blade?"
I ran away from a land shark, and a forest appeared, and then I talked to a tree, and there was King Gerald, the rightful king of Thelanis, and I crowned him that, and I killed some other dude, some other king, and then I got cursed by a witch lady. I'm just as confused as you are, Gronkowski. I'm sorry.
At the very least, you could just get my name right.
All right, Duckbeak.
Just call
sorry.
me Professor Finger Snap.
All right,
If it's easier.
snap.
Anyways. Let's see. Some of the things that you mentioned, you said King Gerald?
Yes, the rightful king.
Where did this happen?
Where did it happen? Near the Handsome Manor.
I don't know where this is. Please give me a better reference point to work with.
Help me, please.
It's like
He looks him up out.
After he says the handsome manner, I turn to Tacitus. It's our base of operations.
Base of operations.
It's up in the general
Are you laughing at my voice?
it's about like an hour or so. I believe it's about an hour south out of Ironside.
I see. Hold on one second. And he pulls out a map. It looks like roughly a map of Corvair. And there are a couple of spots marked and some like lines drawn across it that crisscross all through the land. And then he asks, Ironside is right about here. So would you say it's in this area that this happened? And he kind of points to it, and it's pretty close to where it happened as best as you can tell. So when you confirm that, he says, yes, there is a potential that a Thelanis manifest zone could have come into being there. And you said you were running from something?
Yes, it was a land shark. We enslaved it.
You're not making sense, boy.
I figured before that they turned into a zombie.
Okay.
It's not a land shark. It's a bullet. Is the appropriate term for the creature, and it is currently roaming outside of our base of operations as a guard of sorts.
I thought you owed money.
Tell me, were you there, handsome one?
Oh.
Unfortunately, none of us were. See, Peitri here fled from battle, and then we went to find him. And
Didn't actually flee. It was tactical retreat, guys. Come on.
he fled.
So you were fighting this thing, and he ran away from it.
Yes. And after we defeated it, and we went to go find where he may have gotten off to, we could not find him, but we found his sword aged, rusted, as if it was
His sword was aged.
Yes, as if it's been in the earth for hundreds of years.
Well, now you are starting to make sense in filling in the gaps of this child. I know that Thelanis is a mysterious plane. It is a plane of stories. Fairy tales, as you called them, young one. Tales that transcend time and history. And if what you say is true, well, a manifest zone is not necessarily recorded there. There are energies known as ley lines that Valanis is connected with. And through these ley lines, certain resonations can occur with people. It sounds like, young one, the act of running while your friends were fighting may have resonated with this particular story. Now, what is it that happened while you were crossed over?
Well, as I said, I talked to a tree. I met an old man, King Gerald, or the rightful King Gerald. I then went to a castle and I killed a king to rightfully reinstate King Gerald, the true king of Valanis. All hail King Gerald!
Tell me, child, why do you have such a strong connection to this King Gerald? What influence did he have over you?
He just said to me that he was the rightful king, and I believed him. Petri's so fucking dumb.
And what made you believe this person? Clearly you are, even now, convinced that he was the rightful king.
Well, the other king said that he stole the wife, and King Joe was being attacked by wolves, and he looked pretty sad. So he must have been the king.
Your stupidity is astounding. But there are elements to your story that remind me of other connections to Valanis. I'm sorry, Gnome, you were about to speak.
I was just going to say, maybe he was enchanted by whatever he met there.
It's possible, but once outside of the touch of Valanis, those magics generally fade. Young one, how long were you there? And how long ago did you return?
I was there. It felt like a day, but as I was told, my sword was rusted. It could have been so long. I think time works differently in Valanis.
You would be correct on that, child. An astute observation for one clearly so lacking in sense.
Well, enchantments often fade. You don't often come back from Valanis with a magic sword that you can't drop.
The sword does pack a punch. You have not yet seen its prowess in combat, but it is stronger than any other sword I have seen.
You have fought with it since you have returned to Eberron.
Yes, I stabbed a war machine. What are they called again? I forgot. Sorry.
Warforged.
Warforged, yeah. And it seemed like it lost a part of itself when I killed it. Not just its life, obviously, but a part of its soul.
No, this can't be. And you see him he gets up from his desk and walks over to one of the bookshelves and rummages through one of the book until he finds a particular book. And then he brings it over to his desk and he flips through the pages, and you can see him fixing his glasses and really he really has to get right in there to be able to see what he's reading. And then he goes through and says, "So you have killed with this sword since you've been back?"
Yeah. And you should look at this. And I let go of my guts. and a big pile of blood and black ooze just pours onto the ground.
Oh my
And
God, what is wrong with you?
And then I push it again. I'm like, oh.
Have you sought healing, child? You are bleeding profusely.
I can't heal this. I've tried. I'm a healer.
What do you mean?
I'm a priest of the Silver Flame, and I've been gifted healing powers, but this cannot heal this.
You have wounds that won't close, even with magical healing. Does the bleeding ever stop?
It has continued for several days / possibly week.
And yet you are still alive.
Might be magic blood. I don't know.
Is it painful?
Very much so.
He then looks to the rest of you and says, what else can you tell me about this sword and what has happened since you've been back? Since he has been back?
Well, I did see he managed to strike a creature that came through a manifest zone into this plane, and it immediately drove the creature back through the portal it came from. That was some time ago. It wasn't recent at all.
Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. I love you. So it's driven back a creature of some sort, you say?
Yeah.
And not just in a way that swords tend to do.
No, it was clearly something special about this soul striking creature caused it to be sucked back through its portal.
Okay. Anyone else have observations about this young man or the sword since he's returned?
Well, he does seem to be in pain every time he uses it. To kill, anyway.
Wait, so your wounds worsen when you kill? You have killed more than once?
Yes, I would roughly say 4 or 5 times now.
Peitri may be brave, but he's not a quick learner. No offense.
What? This is quite clear. It's not an observation that is hidden.
Tacitus would probably pull out his pearl and begin the identification ritual on the sword.
Peitri cowers. He thinks that you're going to arrest him. So he's like, no, don't arrest me.
I don't have that. Just sit still. It's gonna take like 10 minutes. Just hang still. Hang tight.
What's this pearl?
Nice.
What's this pearl?
The pearl just helps to focus the energy.
So, young one, you have slain multiple individuals since you've returned. And how did you feel when this happened? Who was it that you were fighting?
I thought models and warforged mostly, but it felt as if the sword struck back. And I definitely did not stab myself. I know that for a fact.
I can confirm that he did not stab himself.
Well, that is a shock. All right. So you have a sword that has some impact, some interaction with those that you kill, other than just ending their life. When you kill it, hurts you, you are compelled that you cannot drop the sword. How do you feel when you slay these individuals?
I feel powerful, but the thing is that it feels like I'm not just killing it, I'm killing it more than just killing it. I know that makes no sense, but it does.
Actually, child, that may be the most sensical thing that you've said yet.
That's right, guys, isn't it? Stop laughing at me.
Tacitus, give me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh boy. What do we got here? So all three of my rolls today have been a 3 on the die. Total 7.
Okay.
Perhaps I'll use my. See, I think my last action point to reroll.
I think you might have one more. I think this is your third.
Okay. All right. I'll accept that. Rerolling. That's much better. That's a 21.
All right. So as you complete the ritual, there is a sudden flash, and a massive surge of energy courses into the pearl and then through your arm, holding it. And it is so strong that it knocks you against the bookcase and you fall to the floor. You don't take. This isn't an encounter or anything. You're not going to take any hit point damage or anything, but it definitely hurts.
Sure.
You fall on your ass afterwards, and you can feel a magical resonance coursing through your body. But specifically in your senses, it's an overwhelming feeling, but you're able to focus yourself such that you can mount at least a kind of mental defense against this energy and shield your mind from the impact and the effects of it.
Alrighty.
So this you do get a little bit of information
Okay.
from your ritual, which I will send now.
I swear I didn't touch him, guys. Don't arrest me.
Let me get that email right quick and go from there. Definitely like stand up and just, say out loud, well, that hurt.
Send.
Got it.
So after seeing this display, Professor Fingersnap is much more intrigued and has a kind of a shocked look at his face at first and is very concerned about the books. But the shelves were made sturdier than Tacitus's body could hurt. Good dwarven design of the shelves. And so he quickly looks over, sees that there's no damage, and then he returns his eyes to the sword with a look of surprise and also kind of academic studiousness. And he says, "Aye, that is interesting."
Whatever it is, far too powerful for just trying to get an ID on it.
How do you mean?
It lashed out at me. prevented me from being able to gather any actual information about it. It did seem to try and attack my senses, and I'll look to the rest of the group and just kind of ask, has he always been like this, or is it only since he's gotten this weapon?
He's had the weapon the whole time I've known him, so he was unconscious for the first week I met him.
Yeah, that happened.
I don't know that that's related, but maybe.
Well, the sword itself may be making him the dullard that he is.
I think the sword is. I think he's shown. Peitri has shown some of these qualities prior to the sword, but they are definitely more intensified now that he has it.
Mm.
Yes, makes sense. You see, it seems that your journey to Thelanis, as I mentioned, something about that place resonated with your actions. And what your actions were seemed to be cowardly. You were running from battle when your friends needed you. Would you agree with this, handsome one?
It's definitely not true, guys. It was tactical.
I wasn't there for the fight, so I really can't answer. What do you think, Marthow?
I've never seen screaming so tactical.
Yes, so then there are theories, nothing concrete or proven, but as Thelanis is the realm of stories and fairy tales, those who embody characteristics of those aspects of Thelanis can bring about transportation, if you will. They are able to slide across the barrier that separates Eberron with Thelanis. And then the way that Thelanis works, to my understanding, which, though I am an expert, there's still much to be discovered. It seems that many of these stories are in a repetitive cycle. They seek to continue through, never being resolved, always coming back to the beginning in a type of cycle. And it is possible that, young one, your involvement in the story, this King Gerald who caught your attention so greatly, was what was necessary in order to change it. And when you change the stories, it has a ripple effect. These stories are not meant to be changed. These beings of Thelanis, although they are great and powerful, are very much limited within their spheres of influence. They're aspects rather than willful creatures. And so they must follow these rules. But if you were drawn into this land, into this story, being a creature of will, such as you are, it could have been enough to upset the balance. And so, this sword may be a representation of that in some way.
Gerald was the rightful king, so, you know. Thanks for the sword, Delanis.
It also could be that this sword has a power over you. You are not able to drop it at all?
No. Let me try again. No.
So if the creatures are bound by rules, and this sword is from there, then it must be bound by rules too. And it has bound itself to this simple man. Poor soul.
So you can see the sword, right?
Yes.
Could
I
you
sheath it?
take your sword belt off and drop the sword belt after you sheathe the sword?
No, my pants will fall down. We don't want that.
But how do you take your armor off at the end of the day if you can't drop the sword or put it down? Or
Oh,
take
I
it
never
off?
thought of that.
Peitri, you getting an email coming?
Okay.
Have you just been in the same armor for like months?
It would surprise me. I don't think any of you guys would have stripped me naked, so.
Perhaps, well, perhaps, have you ever thought of returning to Thelanis and killing King Gerald, this rightful king? Perhaps that would restore the balance.
Why would I kill King Gerald? He's the rightful king.
Well, the sword seems to not think so, given that it's killing.
Sent.
How about you guys come with me and we just kill the witch?
You guys speak as if it is so easy to transport to Thelanis. It is not a simple matter, and even if you could get there, you would not necessarily find the story or the realm that you are seeking.
Well, we did save Hurdlekin Crawl, who is a master of interplanar travel. So
Yes, but time also works differently in Thelanis. If you were to return, you could return within moments. You might not return for hundreds of years. You may return sometime in the past. Time does not flow in a single direction in Thelanis.
yeah, that's
It's
fair
different.
point. Plus, magic sword that chases things from other dimensions that we may need. So let's not do that.
Yes.
Hang on. Let me try something. And I put the sword down in its sheath and walk away from it. And now I'm like, I like walk away, but then I like look back at it, like as if I'm a bit skittish. Like, actually, I'll just keep it, and I just put it back onto my sheath.
Okay, so put the sword in your sheath. Somebody will jingle keys and see if somebody else can just take the sword.
Okay. The keys?
To distract you.
Oh, right. Hang on. I'm not a cat.
That's just what a lichen would say.
Well, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be key. Any shiny object.
Oh no, I like this sword. I won't take. You can't take it. I'll keep it.
I'm going to motion like past him to, I don't know who's standing behind him. I guess we'll say Tacitus, and I'll say, that'll do, Tacitus. And then while I'm reaching behind him, I'm going to try to sleight of hand the sword out of its sheath.
20, this should end well.
19, I roll. 22.
Should I do an opposing roll?
No. The interesting thing is you're not even looking at Ivor as he's doing that. But the minute that he touches the sword, without conscious control, you reflexively grab it with your hand and prevent it from being taken.
I don't touch my bum. That's gross, dude.
This is not your bum. This is your sword.
I don't know if that's much better.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be a fairy tale about you called like Clever Peitri or something like that. Not clever, you are.
Oh, that would be another good name for this one. I bet you think this fairy tale is about you.
Anyways, can you fix this hole? And I lift my arm up again, and another big lot of blood and ooze just pours out of me.
I don't know that I can, child. It seems to be linked to this sword. And the sword seems to have a vested attachment to you, and you to it.
Just not to your guts.
That's okay. Well, if I could permanently employ this Tacitus as my bodyguard, he would help me keep my guts together. Isn't that right, Tacitus?
I'll just like look past to Elmorn and say, I'm not doing any good here. Do you want me to come along?
It could be a fine addition.
So Professor Fingersnap does say, wait, one moment. And he goes to a bookshelf and he pulls out another book and he says, here, this might be of interest to you. This is a copy of a title that I already have, but it may have information that could assist you with the matter you are currently dealing with this sword. Could provide you some insight. I don't know. You mentioned this Gerald. I don't know him as King Gerald, but Gerald the Beggar, I believe, is the more common term associated
Wrong
with
Gerald. Wrong Gerald. But yes.
And then there's a King Rosald. King Rosald. Yes. Yes, that is it.
Yeah,
This
he's
is
still
starting
throwing.
to sound familiar. So this name it rings familiar for you.
Yeah, I remember that name. He's the not rightful king.
This makes much more sense now. Yes, I recommend reading through this book. It might shed some light on your situation. I don't know that it may help you understand necessarily how to address the situation, but it will at least give you a bit of knowledge into what it is you're dealing with. And he hands over the book.
I take it and I'm like, there's only one book I need. And I pull out the Silver Flame Bible.
The good book.
Well,
I'll grab the book. Yeah, here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
yeah, you read the book.
well, young one, I certainly hope that your faith in the Silver Flame is enough to see you through this matter, but unfortunately, I seriously doubt it.
Well, you can read the book as well, and you can tell me about it. Give me some points and stuff. Right? Professor Broken Fingers?
It's Professor Fingersnap, and no, I gave you the book so that you could know and read through it.
I'll read through it.
Thank you, Tacitus. So you are leaving with these people. You are no longer going to be one of our watch.
I wasn't doing any good here. These guys, they've been helping people, and that's what I want to do.
It is
It'll
a
be a shame.
generous definition of helping people. I have not been paid since I got here. We've not even found treasure since I've got
But
here.
no, that's not true. We have a manor. There's some ghost in there, the usual.
Doing good is not about getting paid.
I mean, we foiled a heist on a train by some warforged. We got about half the passengers killed, but some of them survived.
Maybe I can help save a few more people the next train.
There's a reflection of sort of recognition in Professor Fingersnap, and he says, "That was you? You're the group responsible for that."
Yeah, I don't like the word responsible. I'm not
We're not
criminal or civil liability in anything.
That's right.
No.
Don't arrest me.
Responsible for saving those people.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, that was us. Oh, that was definitely me.
That was you?
Yes, I'm the famous Peitri Silverleaf.
You are Peitri? How did you survive? You're so not bright. You can tell he's trying to be polite.
I am bright. The silver flame shines on me.
That can be the only explanation. So Professor Fingersnap turns back to Tacitus and says, "Well, Tacitus, you will certainly be missed."
Okay.
So I have given you all of that I can. Is there any other matter that must be addressed?
Probably not by you. We need to see Hurdlekin one more time, I think.
Oh, I despise that dwarf. So self-absorbed and paranoid. What could you possibly need from him?
He has some area of knowledge of interest related to something we've encountered, so beyond the lens.
Yeah, he's got to examine Marthow.
Yes.
All right, well, take caution with him. He is more interested in furthering his knowledge and research than he is with the lives of others.
I'll just remind him that they saved his life. Hopefully that'll help. Yeah, there was an issue. It's past now.
Okay.
I mean, not like it's not going to happen again, but it's past for right now.
Yes.
At the moment,
You're
it only
a funny
happened.
one, Gnome. I enjoy your company. Not to be rude, but if there is nothing else, I really do need to get back to my studies. Hopefully I've been of assistance.
Yeah.
Indubitably.
Very much so.
Professor.
Remember to
What's
read that
that,
book.
I know. I have the book.
Oh, I didn't mean you.
Ivor, what did you say?
Thank you for your time, Professor Finkersnap.
Very welcome. Now, if you wouldn't mind. And then he just he picks the book up from where he set it within his desk, and then he puts it back in front of his face, and just leaves you guys to show yourselves out.
As
All right.
we
Come on.
start walking out, and as we're walking, I was like, Peitri, it seems I have something for you. When I woke up, I scribbled this, and I don't know, something came to mind, and I give him the note that's in my pocket.
No, another cryptic code, I guess. Let's have a look.
Yeah, this is what it says.
Okay. Oh wow. You are our sword. It's just the same code as before. Give it to the gnome. I give it to Eivar. What does it say, Eivar?
Yeah, I already said this. It says our sword drove.
Away.
Oh yeah, it away.
Our sword drove it away. Oh, we can go tell the dwarf that. All right, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I said it in code because I didn't know if you wanted to like just share it with Hurdlekin.
Oh, should we not tell him?
I mean, who knows how?
He might want my sword.
Yeah, there's a sword out there that has this effect. Given that he's opening these portals all the time. I mean, he might have information too. I was just leaving it to you because it's. I mean, I wouldn't say it's our sword, not more your sword. We can't even steal it off you, apparently.
Yeah, no one can steal it from me. It's my sword. My precious.
Yeah. But Ivor, part of although I haven't given you specifically what knowledge you learned from that book that you picked up, one thing that you do know is that there's other materials that are more common that can drive away the creatures of Xoriat and Ivor. So it's not limited to Peitri's sword.
Okay.
All right.
Well, maybe I'll share that information with Hurdlekin then, since he seems to be aware of it. I didn't have any of those on hand.
Pathetic professor.
Tacitus, give me an investigation check for when you are going to go through the book.
Alrighty. Um, 12.
Right. So, with Kurt and with Tony, I will send you guys emails later after the session regarding what you learned from those books that you were looking at.
Alrighty.
I think this is probably a good stopping point. How do you guys feel?
Yeah, I think so.
Sounds good.
Yeah. We're going to talk to the professor, but yeah, that sounds good.
What do you guys think about today's session?
It was great.
A lot of information to add, try to integrate into the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good to have you back.
Yeah, it's been a while.
since the two of us have been in a session for.
Yeah, it's been a long while. And I want big boy Elmorn to help us with the big battles
Yeah. Sorry.
instead of faulty ways to use the bloody sentinel feat.
What class is Tacitus, by the way?
He's a war mage.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, but I happen to work out getting heavy armor proficiency, so I'm a war mage with plate armor.
Does he wield a sword or?
He uses a spell most of the time. It's a Shadow Blade spell.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That's what I came in at the beginning of the session with.
All right, cool.
Mist sword.
Would Elmore know about your mystical martial prowess?
Probably, yeah. I never hide it. I just...
So Elmore was a caravan guard, and it sounds like you were in the military.
I was in the military, yeah. And I think shortly after the day of mourning, yeah, I was also part of that caravan, I think. That's when we met.
Okay.
Also, Tacitus, I'm going to give you some information that you picked up about the day of mourning. I'm going to figure that probably one of the reasons that you ended up being seeking out a position here at the Tower of the 12 on the watch was probably to try and learn information about the day of mourning.
Yeah.
And so I'll send you some info that you've managed to pick up.
Right.
It's not all verifiable. Some of it may be rumors and gossip and things like that, but it'll give you a start.
Sure.
So Tony, what is your first impressions of the game?
Well, so far it's just like starting any new game. You have to figure everybody's names, and I made a notepad, opened a notepad, and wrote everybody's name in there. So that's just and various information about them people.
Yeah.
Ivar, Pompous. Marthow, mental affliction, which we'll go into next session, I think. Peitri really likes gnome hair gel.
Yeah, we didn't finish that. We needed gnomish hair gel.
But yeah, Elmorn, shared history. Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
All right, guys. So I will be sending out some emails for in preparation for next time. Is everybody good for next Thursday?
Yeah,
Sure.
No, not next Thursday.
Oh, that's right. You have Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is anyone else seeing Star Wars opening night?
Oh, bullshit. You guys get it so much earlier than me.
No, I'm good.
I'm not saying that opening night.
I get mine on bloody Boxing Day. This is garbage.
Is there are there any days that might work where everybody could be available?
I could do Wednesday. I can't do Tuesday. I'm not sure about Monday at the moment.
I can't do Wednesdays. That's it.
I could do any day, so besides Thursday.
And I can't
That
do
Thursday.
Saturday. I could do Friday.
I could do
Friday as well.
Monday. I could do Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Friday probably as well.
I can do Friday. Is Friday work for everyone else?
Yeah, I can do that.
But Tony's just going to come on and be like, let me just tell you a couple things about what happened in Star Wars.
No!
Oh, wait, no, I can't do Friday. That's right. I have a Christmas party next Friday. Totally. Company.
Can't believe Chewie is Rey's father.
Talking about next Friday?
Yeah, we're trying to do the week of the 11th.
Oh, next Friday. Next Friday, I think I'm okay.
I mean, I can see if I can move my thing on Tuesday. Does Tuesday work for everyone?
Tuesday works for me.
So, Brendan, that would be your Wednesday, right?
Yeah, no, I can't do that.
Your toe's still broken?
Yeah, but it's workable now, so I have to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays at least.
You broke your
Damn.
toe?
What's that? Yeah, I busted it. Yeah, that's why I'm here. Not at work.
My dog broke his toe too. You guys are broken toe buddies.
There we go.
How about Sunday?
What's that?
I said, how about Sunday?
No.
Sounds like Brendan would not be able to do
That'd be my Monday, so no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
What about Saturday?
Saturday I can't do.
Not even earlier in the day, maybe?
No, all of Saturday is going to be taken up.
So I can do your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. No, not Sunday. I can do your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Yeah.
Right, but Ano can't do our Wednesday.
Not do Wednesday.
So it sounds like no matter what day we do next week, we're missing at least one person.
Right.
Which, that's
Sucks.
Let's go to Thalanis for 1 week. Random one shot. I missed out on that cool one, which you guys did. Where
we didn't do that one yet.
Elmorn was like the farmer, remember?
Oh, right.
Clarence,
Yeah.
Clarence.
the shape-shifting, wide-eyed farm boy.
Yeah, I missed out on that one.
And Peter was like some kind of like
He was
20
an investigator or something, journalist.
Yeah, so he was a journalist. He had like a magnum. That's how he killed people, with a magnum.
So if you guys are okay with it, we could do that one shot for next week, because there's a one shot that I had in mind for the random character generation.
One shot's good for me.
Yeah, I'm cool for that.
Okay. Are we doing random character generation?
Yeah, so the way it's gonna work is I literally have like a random table where I split up not only the classes but of the subclasses. So I have 100 different specific class subclass possibilities, and then there's like another. Here, I'm gonna bring it up. I don't want to share it with you guys yet, but I'm kind of excited about this. So where is it? Let me. Oh, here it is. Random character generator. So, we would start at level 3. First things we would do is we would do stats, roll 46, drop the lowest, but you have to roll them in order, with one roaming 14 that you can use to replace any single ability score. And then you would roll a d4 to determine which race list you would roll on. And each of those are d12 rolls except list 4, which is a d10. And then you'd roll a d20 for your background. And then there's a d100 for the class.
Okay.
So would we do that like at the start of the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason for level 3 is that there would not be any need to do feats or anything like that. So you would just basically use whatever your character has. And then it would be the same thing, max HP and all that stuff.
Yep.
So outside of figuring out what your character is, then everything would be kind of outlined for you.
Gotcha.
I hope I don't roll monk. Need too many good ability scores to play a good monk.
Unless you manage to just randomly roll a couple of 18s.
Right.
I'd be a monk.
Yeah. That's that.
That's true. I mean, you don't have to necessarily be like a monk who's good at combat.
Yeah, you could be a monk who flunked out of the.
Right. I scribe books. I'm a monk. What?
Oh, and also, so you guys have an understanding, some of these class and subclass types that I have are homebrew stuff. Like, for example, the Talenta Dino Rider Barbarian that I have.
What?
Yeah.
Why haven't I known about this until now? I would have totally been a dino riding barbarian.
I created it after I started this game.
So who rages? You are the dinosaur.
But could you being like non-halfling dino riding barbarian?
I'm sorry, what?
Could you wind up being a non-halfling dino riding barbarian?
You could. So I made the barbarian archetype with the Talenta halfling in mind. So for those of you who are not familiar enough with Eberron, one of the nations of Eberron is the Talenta Plains, which is ruled by tribal nomadic halflings that don't have any permanent settlements except one. And many of them are barbarians that have a special relationship with dinosaurs, and they ride dinosaurs. And so this barbarian archetype that I made basically gets a dinosaur animal companion. And then also another one of the abilities, which is specifically made for small characters like halflings, are you can use heavy weapons without disadvantage. So you can more fully embrace the barbarian side of your halfling.
OP.
God damn you. But yeah, so there are some homebrew stuff in there that it would be interesting if it got picked.
Yeah,
Kind of playtest.
All right, yeah, no, let's do a one shot next week. Sounds fun.
All right, so are we good with Thursday then? We'll keep the normal time, and then
Yeah.
Tony, you'll just enjoy Star Wars.
Yep.
And spoil it for the rest of us.
I'll give you guys a half an hour first.
All right, so I will send out that email probably by tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there.
All right.
Nice, guys.
All right.
All right, take care, everyone.
Bye.
What?
Yep.